going to play some soothing music in the background for you guys. And I'm not going to get excited. I'm not going to scream and yell. I'm going to try to keep this real calming. Because, well, we're fucked. You know, this is the thing. I've done some research into Yellowstone. We're in the next few years, maybe we might get 20 years before she blows, but she's probably gonna blow. She probably not. Now don't go panicking. Don't go panicking. Don't panic. It's probably not gonna blow in the next month or two. You know, it might not blow in the next year or two. But if you're out there and you're 20 years old and you're thinking about your retirement, well, she's going to blow before you get to retire. Because the ground is raising about this much every year, and it has been for quite a little while now. And what that is down there about 7 miles underneath the surface of the ground, there's what they call a magma expanse. And what it is, it's a giant pool of hot energy that's coming up from deep beneath the ground of the earth, and it's building up pressure. And that pressure is what's making the earth above heave this much every year. And it's building up more and more and more pressure. And she started doing this back in the 1920s, but it was very slow at first, but then it increased exponentially as we moved up past the year 2000. So I'm going to read a little bit from one article here, and this article is, strangely enough, from CNN in their Space and Science division. It says the magma expanse under Yellowstone supervolcano is more vast than we ever thought. It says, as tourists stroll between Yellowstone's 300 active geysers, taking selfies in front of thousands of bubbling, boiling mud pots and hissing steam vents, they are treading on the planet's greatest time bomb. The park is a supervolcano, so enormous it has puzzled geophysicists for decades. But now a research group using seismic technology to scan its depths have made a bombshell discovery. Yellowstone's magma reserves are many magnitudes greater than previously thought. Hooray! Hooray! Say scientists from the University of Utah. Underneath the national park's attractions and walking paths is enough hot rock to fill the Grand Canyon nearly 14 times over. So basically what these guys are saying is it's built up a pool of lava or magma down beneath the surface that's 14 times larger than the Grand Canyon. And it's under tremendous pressure, and it's upheaving the ground above it. It says most of this is in a newly discovered magma reservoir, which scientists features in a study published on Thursday in the Journal of Science. It may help scientists better understand why Yellowstone's previous eruptions in prehistoric times were some of Earth's largest explosions in the last few million years. The Utah scientists also created the first three-dimensional depiction of the geothermal structure under Yellowstone, which comprises three parts. Yellowstone's ultimate heat source reaches down 400 40 to 1,800 miles beneath the Earth's surface, and it comes all the way from the Earth's molten core, which is responsible for fueling the newly discovered reservoir that lies on top of it. So now we have this. Now NASA is coming up with these crazy plans to try to save us. And the reason why NASA is coming up with these crazy plans is because they know she's going to blow. And they probably have a much better idea when she's going to blow. And of course, they can't come out and say, guys, like 3 years from now, this volcano is going to blow up and take out all of North America, they'd panic us all. So they have to keep mum on it. They have to, but they can come up with these crazy plans. Let's put NASAPLAN2STOPYELLOWSTONE. Let's see what we get here. NASA says unveils a plan to stop Yellowstone, the supervolcano. Okay, let's take a look at this one first. And this is the one that got me started on this article, I think. Got me started on this subject yesterday or the day before. It says here, NASA's plan to stop Yellowstone volcano from erupting could actually cause it to blow. Well, that's just great. They got a plan to stop it that's going to cause it to blow. And I read a little bit about their plan, and I agree. I think it could actually set it off and make it blow even sooner. Their whole plan is about drilling a hole down into it and pumping water down in there, which is automatically going to turn to steam, and then I guess capping it off. And and that doesn't sound like a very good plan to me. It sounds to me like they're going to create a steam boiler and cause maybe a premature eruption if they get their hands on it. And how much is this going to cost us? It always comes down to how much it's going to cost us too. It says something like billions it's going to cost us anyway. And it says circulating water would return it at a temperature of around 350 degrees Celsius. So they're hoping to extract the heat from the volcano and have 350 degrees Celsius water come pouring up after they pump the water around. Okay, estimated cost is going to be $3.46 billion, which you always know it's gonna cost a lot more than that whenever they do an estimate on something. But it might be worth it, really, because $3.4 billion, is not that much money. And even if it cost $6 billion, more than they thought, if it did work, if they could sit down and show us that it actually would work, it might be worth it, rather than having this thing blow up and take out all of North America, take out all of our lives. Because how many of us would be able to live with a foot of ash? All of our cities covered in a foot of ash. And then there's something else to consider. There's these, I'm going to call them idiots, who have taken it upon their decision to go out and scatter hundreds of thermonuclear reactors all over America. They put them here, there, and everywhere. They scattered them. And they're operating nuclear reactors. Of course, they're supplying our power grid with electricity with them. But they commissioned them to be built. And they put these nuclear fuel rods in them. And they filled them up. And they're all, each and every one of them is a Fukushima in the waiting. So all we need is this volcano to blow off and cover America in a foot of ash. And if we don't have enough problems already, every one of these nuclear reactors is not going to receive the care and maintenance it deserves. Believe me, if the people that run the nuclear reactor, and you can't shut it. If you know anything about a nuclear reactor, I'll tell you what about it. You can't turn them off. They got these fuel rods in them. And they got pumps that run to bring the water in to keep them cool. Right? And the fuel rods, they slowly sink into the reactor. And that's what supplies the heat. And the water comes rushing in. And the whole thing has to run continuously. And it has to have supervisors there to open and shut the valves and so on. So the guy, his job is to come in there and sit there like Homer Simpson. You know? Do you remember in the reactor, Homer, he sits there like Homer Simpson, and when the red light comes on, he pushes this button B, and that opens the fuel gate, you know? And then he sits back and he has his coffee and his donut, and he waits for the red light to come on again. It's that sort of a thing. I mean, I'm not saying exactly like it is, but these guys have to be there to cover these duties, to keep the reactor cool. If you've got no staff on hand and that reactor's still running, you cannot turn them off. Now, remember what I said, you can't turn them off. There's no off switch to the thing. They have to be decommissioned. It's very, very, I guess, decommissioning them, it takes time. And it's something that just can't do the decommission like that. So if it's not decommissioned, it's a running reactor. You just can't take off and say, hey, bud, so let's just all go out and have a weekend at the beach and leave the reactor here to run. And the guy says, hold on again, remember we got to turn this thing off. And he goes over, throws a switch, clunk, clunk, clunk. You know, you can't do that. You can't turn it off, so you can't leave it. It would be like if you were to have a house and you were to have something cooking in the oven. Say you were to put something that was real flammable cooking in the oven, and you were to leave home and just go off to the shopping mall and stuff and forget about it. You come home and your house burned down. You just can't do that. So what if a foot of ash comes down all across North America, and these guys, not only can they not get to work, they're smothering to death in the ash. The guys that's supposed to run the reactor. Reactor don't care. It's going to be sitting there running and overheating. So we're going to have, what, 200 reactors doing the same thing? Why don't they decommission these stupid things now? You know, decommission them. Whose idea was it to put them all in there in the first place? You know? If you think Fukushima was bad, I mean, they got like 20 more just in Japan alone of these stupid reactors. You know? We were better off back when we had coal power. At least a coal-fired plant, you know, if we get some sort of a disaster or something and we can't service it, it just turns off. You know, with these stupid reactors, we need to start. And they're building more. This is the stupidity of it all. They're building more. They should be decommissioning them all so that we'll be safe. It's almost like they're going headfirst to destroy life on this planet as we know it. And these are the people we've put in charge of us. You know? So here we got this volcano, and we got these guys we put in charge here, and they're coming up with plans now to try to stop this volcano. You know? And I can only think of one reason why they're so excited about coming up with a plan. Is the fact that she's probably getting ready to blow. So I'm going to click on this thing right here, and let's see. Let me put the speakers on here so you can hear what I'm hearing real quick. See if I get this right. Okay, I think I got this right, and let me see if you can hear what I'm hearing. So scientists say that the volcano is about to erupt. Oh, what if Yellowstone volcano did erupt? It says, in a full-scale emergency mode would be declared. The U.S. government will call for the entire western portion of the country The day the volcano erupts, the U.S. states of Wyoming, Idaho, Montana would be wiped. They're putting it too fast. I can't read the thing that fast. For crying out loud. Listen, you'll have to go over to Zero Hedge. You'll have to go over to Zero Hedge and look at it. It says because they're putting the wording on it too fast about what would happen, you know. You can't read. Nobody can read that fast. Whoever put that video together, they didn't do it quite right. But anyway, there's a good article over at Zero Hedge, and that's where I am right now. Now we're going to take a look at another article on this. It says, BBC News, NASA's ambitious plan to save the Earth from a supervolcano. You see, my point is simply this. Why is NASA coming up with these plans unless they know that a blast is imminent? Otherwise, those guys at NASA would be kicking their feet up on the desk, and they would be sipping at their coffee and eating their donuts like they normally do, and they wouldn't be coming up with any sort of crazy plans to try to save the Earth from this volcano unless they knew, well, something that we don't. It's as simple as that. So here it is. It says NASA's ambitious plan to save the world. When an eruption is brewing, it may be the only way to prevent extinction of the human race. Lying beneath the tranquil setting of Yellowstone National Park in the United States is an enormous magma chamber. It's responsible for the geysers and hot springs that define the area, but for scientists at NASA, it is also one of the greatest natural threats to human civilization as we know it. A potential supervolcano. Following the article we published about supervolcanoes last month, a group of NASA researchers got in touch to share a report previously unseen outside the space agency about the threat and what could be done about it. So last month, a group of NASA researchers got in touch to share a report previously unseen. Well, this report must give the timing of when she's going to blow. And this is what they're all worried about. And this is why they're essentially panicking and coming to come up with these schemes of what they can do. The thing is getting ready to blow. It says, I was a member of the NASA Advisory Council on Planetary Defense, which studied ways for NASA to defend the planet from asteroids and comets, explains Brian Wilcox of NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. At the California Institute of Technology, I came to the conclusion that during the study that the supervolcano threat is substantially greater than an asteroid or comet threat. So the supervolcano, and I've been on here, and many a time I've heard them tell how great a threat it is from an asteroid hitting us. And this week we had one fly by the Earth not far away. It was 3 miles in diameter, an asteroid named Florence. It went by us. If this is my head right here, and this is the Earth, it went like by my head, like that. If it was a bullet, I would have heard it go by me. And that's what happened like this week. You know? And what is he saying here? The threat is substantially greater than an asteroid or comet threat, according to him. And he has been in there and saw these papers and stuff. And these papers is the reason why these guys are writing how to save the Earth from this thing. It says one of the greatest threats from eruption may pose, though, may be starvation, with a prolonged volcanic winter potentially prohibiting civilization from having enough food. The current population in 2012, the United Nations estimated that food reserves worldwide would only last 74 days. So they're saying our food reserves on Earth are only going to last 74 days when this thing blows. And the people that aren't in the region where the thing hits are going to starve to death. When NASA scientists came to consider the problem, they found that the most logical solution could simply be to cool the supervolcano down. It says, a volcano the size of Yellowstone is essentially a gigantic heat generator. So there you go. This thing is going to blow. And she's going to blow not too long from now either, I think. These guys wouldn't be so concerned if it was like 50 years out. they'd still be kicking their feet up and having their coffee. I would say that this thing is, for them to be this concerned, if it was 20 years out, wouldn't be this concerned. It wouldn't be trying to come up with harebrained ideas like pumping water into the thing. Well, what do you guys think? 20 years, they would want to come up with harebrained ideas to pump water in? No. 15 years from now, would they want to come up with these harebrained ideas to pump water in? Probably not. Within the next 10 years, yeah, they would come up with the harebrained ideas to pump water in. So I would say that they've seen the papers. My guess is for it to give them enough, come get up there and make a plan, it would have to be within the next 10 years. So there you go. Now that's my estimation of the situation. That they've seen the papers. I haven't seen the papers. The papers tell them when it's going to blow, or a good idea when it's going to blow. And it's probably within the next 10 years. So don't go panicking. It's not tomorrow morning, but it's probably within the next 10 years. Thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next article. Bye.